May I see your ID? Police officer David Martinez's voice was cold and mechanical. Robert Chen, 82 years old, slowly pulled out his worn brown leather wallet. Martinez took the ID card and frowned. The date on it read 1941. Curious eyes gathered around. Whispers filled the air. Robert's eyes remained focused on the horizon, maintaining his composure. Martinez didn't know that at that very moment, on the third floor of the Pentagon in Washington, a red phone was ringing, and in 45 minutes he would face the most intense military operation he had ever witnessed in his life. Let's dive into this story. Robert Chen woke up at 6 a.m. every morning. He had done so for 71 years. Discipline still flowed through his veins. His small apartment was located in one of the city's outlying neighborhoods. Last night, while watching the news on television, something had disturbed him. Reports about suspicious men watching children in parks. His instincts were telling him something. At 82, Robert looked much younger than his age. The daily exercises he performed, his disciplined lifestyle, the posture he never lost. His morning routine never changed. Shower, breakfast, checking the news, then walking to Lincoln Park. The same metal bench, the same time, 8:30 a.m. Robert's park visits weren't coincidental. For the past week, he had noticed two suspicious figures hanging around the children's playground. He would describe himself as a retired intelligence officer, but in reality, he was much more than that. Only he knew the truth. The old photograph in his pocket was from Korea, 1952. It had been taken at Heartbreak Ridge. The only connection between the young soldier in the photograph and the old man now was the determination in their eyes. That determination had never changed. The metal bench he sat on in the park was cold. It was the last days of October. The leaves had turned yellow, the wind was gentle. Children were running around the playground. Mothers were chatting. Robert didn't close his eyes for even a moment. He was watching. The suspicious men had come again today. One was pretending to read a newspaper at the park entrance. The other was acting like he was talking on the phone while watching the children. Robert's 50 years of intelligence experience told him these were professionals. Police officer David Martinez approached from the other end of the park. At 34, he was an experienced officer with 8 years on the force. Complaints had started coming into the station that morning. Complaints about an elderly man behaving strangely in the park. Martinez had come to check the situation. Robert saw Martinez approaching but didn't move. Experience had taught him to be patient. Those who rushed would lose. "Hello, sir," Martinez began politely. "There have been some complaints about you. People are feeling uncomfortable." Robert raised his head. His eyes were calm but alert. "What complaints?" "You sit in the same place every day. People think you're watching their children. It's causing discomfort." "I'm protecting the children," Robert quietly replied. Martinez frowned. "Protecting them from whom?" Robert pointed to the man reading the newspaper at the park entrance. "From that man. And from the other one on the phone. They've been here for 5 days. They're watching the children." Martinez looked skeptically. He thought the old man was getting confused. "Sir, don't be paranoid. These are normal people. Normal people don't stand in the same positions in the same park for 5 consecutive days. Normal people don't watch children this way." Martinez grew impatient. "May I see your ID?" Robert slowly pulled out his worn brown leather wallet. The ID card inside was old, almost unreadable. Martinez took the card and frowned. The date on it read 1941. "This is a very old ID, sir. Do you have a current one?" Robert reached into his pocket and pulled out his modern ID card. Martinez compared the two IDs. Robert Chen, 82 years old. Curious eyes gathered around. Whispers filled the air. "Sir, at your age, spending this much time in the park, it's making people uncomfortable. Maybe it would be better if you rested at home." Robert's eyes remained focused on the horizon, maintaining his composure. Martinez didn't know that at that very moment, on the third floor of the Pentagon in Washington, a red phone was ringing. Pentagon, third floor, Security Analysis Department. Major Sarah Rodriguez picked up the red phone. The caller was from the FBI National Security Unit. "Major Rodriguez, do you know someone named Robert Chen?" Rodriguez's heart raced. She knew that name. His file was classified, but Rodriguez's security level granted her access. "Yes, I know him." "What happened?" "He's currently being questioned by police at Lincoln Park. Park security filed a complaint." Rodriguez hung up and immediately called her superior, General William Hayes. Hayes knew Robert Chen's file very well. In 1952 in Korea, the man who single-handedly stopped 200 enemy soldiers, Medal of Honor recipient, and more importantly, a legendary agent who had worked in covert intelligence operations for 30 years. General Hayes's office. "Emergency situation. Robert Chen is being questioned by police." Silence on the phone. Then General Hayes's voice, firm and clear. "Send a unit to Lincoln Park immediately. No one will touch Robert Chen. That man is still on active duty." Martinez continued his questioning. "Sir, do you have family? Someone who might be worried about you?" "I have a daughter. She lives in Boston." "Have you talked to her about this situation? Maybe she could come and take you home?" Robert sighed. He had talked to Sarah. His daughter couldn't understand her father's abnormal behavior. How could she understand? Robert had never told her the details of his military days. He would only say, "I fought in Korea." She didn't know he was a hero, that he had saved lives, that he was ready to give his life for his country. "My daughter is worried," Robert quietly admitted. "Then why don't you go home? Why do you insist on sitting here?" Robert looked at the man at the park entrance. The man was still pretending to read the newspaper, but his eyes were on the children. "Because someone has to protect these children." Martinez laughed. "Sir, there are security cameras here. There's park police. These children are safe." "Cameras don't see everything. Park police don't recognize professional threats." "Professional threats?" Martinez's tone had become mocking. "Sir, do you think there are CIA agents here?" Robert looked at him. There was that old determination in his eyes. Number much worse. At that moment, motor sounds began coming from the distance. 3 military Humvees were approaching Lincoln Park. Inside them were 15 fully equipped soldiers. Martinez hadn't noticed the sounds yet. "Sir, in my opinion, you should go home. If these complaints continue—" "What will happen?" Robert asked. "Social services might get involved regarding the elderly. Nobody wants that." Robert stood up. Despite being 82, his posture was straight, his body language determined. "Officer Martinez, I'm going to tell you something. I fought for this country for 32 years. In Korea, in Vietnam, in covert operations. Now I'm 82 years old, but my duty isn't finished yet." Martinez didn't take these words seriously. He thought the old man was fantasizing. "Sir, I understand, but—" The motor sounds were now very close. Martinez turned and couldn't believe his eyes. 3 military vehicles were arriving at the park entrance. Fully equipped soldiers were getting out of them. "What's happening?" Martinez muttered. Leading the unit was Colonel Michael Torres. At 45, he was an experienced officer with 20 years of service. The order he had received from the Pentagon was clear. Protect Robert Chen. Show him respect. That man is a living legend. Torres saw Robert in the park. He immediately ran to his side and saluted. "Colonel Chen, sir." Martinez's mouth fell open. "Colonel?" Torres turned to Martinez. "This is Robert Chen. He won the Medal of Honor in the Korean War. He single-handedly stopped 200 enemy soldiers. He worked in covert operations for 30 years. He's currently still on active status. Active status? Martinez stammered. Robert looked at Torres. Colonel, the situation is under my control. The suspects are still in their positions. Torres scanned the area. The man reading the newspaper at the park entrance and the other figure on the phone. Yes, sir. We see them. The team has already taken position. At that moment, FBI agents came from the park entrance. The two suspicious men were taken into custody. They didn't want to resist. They were professionals and understood that the situation was against them. Martinez was still in shock. So really they were dangerous men, Robert calmly confirmed. Part of a human trafficking network. They were targeting children. Torres approached Robert. Sir, your situation report? 5 days of observation. 2 suspects, professional behavior patterns, systematic surveillance targeting children, probably part of a national network. Thank you, sir. You successfully completed the operation. Torres turned to Martinez. Officer Martinez, Robert Chen has been in intelligence for 50 years. What you would learn in 10 years, he sees in 1 day. Martinez nodded. I understand. But why didn't you tell me? Why did you keep it secret? Robert looked toward the park entrance. FBI agents were putting the suspects in cars. Because when there's a real threat, you can't trust anyone. You're an honest officer, but you're inexperienced. One wrong move could have jeopardized the entire operation. How long had the operation been going on? Torres answered. 2 months. We were tracking a human trafficking network. Robert Chen was voluntarily conducting field observation. At 82 years old? Age is just a number, Robert smiled. Experience is everything. Martinez pulled out his notepad. How am I going to write my report? This real story is incredible. Just write the facts, Robert suggested. Sometimes elderly people are much more than they appear. Torres signaled to his soldiers. Cleanup operation completed. Colonel Chen, do you need anything else? No, Colonel Torres, thank you. Torres saluted and left with his unit. The 3 Humvees drove away, and the park returned to silence. Martinez turned to Robert. Sir, I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me. Do your job, that's enough. What is my job? Robert sat back down on his bench. Show respect to people. Don't look down on the elderly. Appearances can be deceiving. Martinez was writing in his notepad. I'll never forget this lesson. Good. Now go, report to the station. And remember, sometimes the greatest heroes look like ordinary people. Martinez left. Robert was alone on his bench. He looked at the old photograph in his pocket. 1952, Heartbreak Ridge. That young soldier, now an 82-year-old man. Same mission, same determination. His phone rang. It was Sarah, his daughter. Dad, how are you? I heard they complained to the police about you this morning. Everything's fine, Sarah. Just a misunderstanding. Dad, you really need to come home. This sitting in the park. Sarah, do you know what your father's profession was? Silence. Sarah had never learned exactly what her father did for work. You were a soldier, weren't you? Yes, but I wasn't just a soldier. I was much more than that. And I still am. What do you mean? Robert looked at the children playing in the park. They were safe now. I mean, being old doesn't mean being useless. Sometimes the most important missions come at the most unexpected times. I don't understand, Dad. You will understand. Someday you will understand. He hung up the phone. Evening was approaching. The children were starting to return home. There was calm in the park. Robert stood up. The mission was completed. Tomorrow there would be a new day. Maybe a new mission. Being 82 years old didn't matter. Love of country, sense of duty wasn't limited by age. As he walked home, he heard footsteps behind him. He turned. A young woman was running toward him. "Sir, sir, wait!" The woman came to him out of breath. "I'm Jennifer Adams from the local newspaper. I heard about what happened this morning. Could you give an interview?" Robert stopped. "What kind of interview?" "I want to tell your real story. People should learn. To break down prejudices against the elderly." Robert thought. He didn't like media attention, but maybe this was a necessary lesson for society. "Okay, but I have conditions." "What are they?" "You won't use my name. You won't take my photograph. You'll just tell the story." Agreed. They sat on a bench in the park. Jennifer turned on her voice recorder. "Please tell me what happened this morning." Robert began. But he didn't just tell about this morning. He told his whole life. The wars in Korea, the friends he lost, the battles he won, the covert operations in Vietnam, his intelligence work, and today, at 82, how he still served his country. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears as she listened. This is incredible. People should know this. Yes, they should know. Because this isn't just my story. There are thousands of elderly veterans in this country. They've all experienced a lot, given a lot, and most of you ignore them. Why do we ignore them? Because old age is seen as a disease, but old age means experience. It means wisdom. It means strength. Jennifer finished the interview. "This story is very important. I'll share it." "Good, but remember, this isn't just my story. This is the story of respect." As Robert walked home, those watching the evening news were amazed. FBI operation at Lincoln Park. Human traffickers caught, thanks to an anonymous tip. No one knew the tipster was an 82-year-old veteran. No one knew the real hero was the old man sitting on the park bench. But Robert wanted it this way. You didn't need to be recognized to be a hero. Doing your duty was enough. At home, he looked at his old photograph. 1952. That young soldier was telling him, "Do your duty. Protect your country. Age is just a number." And Robert, at 82, continued to fulfill this duty. The next morning, the newspaper came out. Headline, "Respect for the Elderly, Invisible Heroes Among Us." The article told Robert's story. His name was hidden. There was no photograph. But the message was clear. Don't look down on elderly people. They may be much stronger than you think. Thousands of people who read the article began to think about their own elderly relatives, neighbors, elderly people they saw in parks. Maybe they had stories too. Maybe they were heroes too. And so, 82-year-old Robert Chen didn't just catch criminals. He also initiated a social change. Because real heroes sometimes appear in the most unexpected places with the most ordinary appearance. And all we need to recognize them is respect. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments about how we should treat our elderly who have done so much throughout their lives. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next inspiring story.